to life.
He still paints the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checker. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft for a Saturday early afternoon edition for the Cookout 400 from Richmond Raceway. The one time we stop at Richmond this year, it's not a 2-race anymore at Richmond, which has thrown an interesting mix into it. Not really concerning of Draftkings, but ticket prices are crazy. I am really used to buying tickets day of, paying like $20-30, sitting like 30 rows up on the front stretch, possibly even under the covers. And I went and looked yesterday, and like the cheapest tickets were like $130 for not good seats, and like $200. Well, luckily enough, I finally ended up finding a pretty decent seat at a decent price. Still way more expensive than what I'm used to paying, but that's okay. That's part of it, and we'll go to the race tonight and have a grand time. Went to the truck race last night with my son and wife and had a great time. Really interesting to see the strategies play out in that race, and I think we're going to see something probably somewhat similar for the Cup race, but I think the biggest difference after getting home, watching practice, looking at practice speeds and times, it is crazy the amount of fall off. And because we've got, I always need to look at this before I start these, is the stage breaks. Lap 230. So the first stage is only 70, so they should be able to make that on just not stopping. Potentially. We'll see. Tire wear is going to be it's going to be really interesting once you really see the practice speeds and how much they fall off. And that was for like 30 or 40 laps. We could see at least, if it stays green during stage 1, we could see one stop during stage 1. We could see 2, maybe even 3 stops in stage 2 and 3. The tire fall off is impressive. I'm actually really impressed with what Goodyear has brought for this race. It is so that last year they had the, I guess, standard or regular tire that they were running at short tracks. Then they had the option tire, and the option tire was fascinating to watch. After the first pit stops, Daniel Suarez put the option tire on and just drove right through the field. This year, they've got not the option tire, but it's even softer than the option tire that they had for the fall race last year. It is a new tire. It seems to be holding up fairly well, but the wear on it with this old, worn-out pavement at Richmond, I really think is going to throw havoc to these teams. Now, the difference between practice yesterday and the race is about 2.5 hours of daylight difference and potential somewhat drop-off in track temps. It's also going to be a few degrees cooler today, which is still going to be warm. It's still going to be in the mid-80s, but it was close to 90 degrees yesterday when they were doing practice. So I'm not sure if the 5 to 8 degrees difference is going to make that big of a difference, or if this not having the sun beating down the track will make a huge difference. But either way, the practice fall off was quite impressive. Either way, let's take it back look back at our dominating win again by SVG. I I mean, I'm happy for SVG, but God, is he good? And I thought maybe there was going to be a kink in his armor after watching some practice and qualifying and stuff like that in the Cup race, but he still just literally almost was toying with the field again. He's so impressive. Um, and I just need to put it in my memory bank that he is just that good and he's just that much better than the rest of the field on any type of road course, street course, roval type of race. It's he's just that impressive. But he didn't dominate. He only led 38 laps of the 90, but it was mostly because of pit strategies and how cautions fell and things of that nature. But still, at the end, he still won by over 11 seconds. Absolutely incredibly impressive. I'm not sure why I have it down for Chris Buescher. He definitely was one of my he was one of my picks to be okay last week. Um, but yeah, it was kind of lined up how I kind of thought it would. It was going to be some of the expensive guys that made it to the top, and well, Bubba Wallace probably was definitely not my pick. Yeah, trying to figure out why I've got Chris Buescher as a thumbs down. He shouldn't have been. We'll move him out of there. But yeah, I mean, Eric Jones probably easily was due for being a place differential. Zane Smith was definitely a place differential. Everybody else kind of fell in, and I just didn't put enough stock into the SVG. I mean, I still had, I think, 35% of the field, 35% of my lineups had SVG, which was okay. It needed to be, I mean, after looking at this, needed to be 100. But I think the biggest thing that I had with SVG was his price tag. And he absolutely was well worth it. I mean, he scored 10 more points than anybody else in the field. Absolutely insane. But no dominator, 2-place differential guys. So everybody kind of held position, held serve. We didn't have a whole lot of chaos in the race, which also caused a little bit of differentiation from the last 2 races at Watkins Glen. So it kind of skewed things a little bit. But either way, this optimal lineup challenge has become absolutely nuts. After 24 races, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers who have made the optimal lineup 8 times. Byron, Chastain, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Bowman, I mean, Hendrick and Gibbs pretty much all rounding out the top of the optimal lineup challenge. Priest, Bubba Wallace, and Blaney are still hunting to get into that spot. They're definitely not out of contention by any means. Either way, that was Watkins Glen from last week. We don't have another road course until we get to the Roval, which will be in the playoffs. And we'll just have to wait and see how that fares out. But SVG probably will be a big contender. And the question is, will he be still in the playoffs? Does he have enough playoff points to get him through the first 3 races of the playoff? Time will tell. Either way, we head to Richmond, where last year we had a little controversy at the end when Austin Dillon spun Joey Logano from the lead. Austin Dillon had a pretty dominant car for most of that race. He really kind of came out of nowhere. He was having a mediocre year at best and ended up having a really, really good car at the end of the race. But they had a late caution, and he had to spin out Joey Logano, which then took out Denny Hamlin all at the same time. But he was able to prevail, get the win, but then had the playoff eligibility stripped away for, I guess, actions detrimental for that race. So he did not make the playoffs because of it, but did get to keep the win. Either way, Richmond, it's a kind of a unique track. I guess you could say if you're comparing, you can put Iowa in the same class. You can put Phoenix into the same class. But then after that, it's not concrete. It's more of a flat track. doesn't quite fall into a Martinsville or New Hampshire or the high banks of Bristol. It's a unique little track all on its own, and if this Goodyear tire turns out to be as good as it appears on practice, we should be in store for a really, really good race. So, like I said, other tracks that you compare to, you could take Nashville out of here and put Iowa into its spot. Iowa was designed with Richmond in mind when it was built, so that's why it's can be easily put into the same category. Either way, optimal lineups that we need to be concerned about from the last 4 races at Richmond. And what we're kind of looking for here is what does the top end look like? What does the kind of ceiling or basement of the Draftkings points that we need to be concerned with? And it kind of falls, I kind of picked Ross Chastain here to 53.8 or higher, a 60.5 from the spring race with Josh Berry. And then in 2023, a 52 and a 54. So it's kind of somewhere in the 55 point range will be kind of what we need to have as our goal for at least the higher price drivers. I mean, to really get up there, the person with the highest points is going to be close to 100, if not past 100. There's 91 and a 90, a 103, 93, and a 119 and a 96. So, on the higher end, we're definitely looking in the 90s, but when we're trying to adjust starting with 38 drivers, trying to adjust 38 down to 15 core drivers with another 5 or so behind it, so about 20 drivers, trying to cut the field in half. So that way when you build your lineups, you're mostly only concerned with about half of the field instead of the entire field. Now, of course, there's always a couple of randoms that will fall into place. D Pope, what's up, buddy? It is race day in Richmond, and I live about 15 minutes from the track, so very excited to go watch a race in person and actually be able to get home at a pretty quick clip. I think other than the probably 15 minutes we sat in the parking lot, I was home within about 18 minutes after leaving the track last night. So the traffic pattern in and around Richmond Raceway is actually very, very easy once you get off of the property. Sometimes getting out of the property is a little bit tricky, but ever since they kind of adjusted the total amount of people that go to these races, I mean, we're probably looking at about 45,000 people for today's race, where they used to have upwards of almost 100. And that was a little bit of a nightmare. I remember coming to this race, 15, 20 years ago, and having to park almost 2 miles away, and still then having an hour and 15-minute drive to get back to the highway. So it used to be a nightmare. It's not so much anymore. So if you live close to the Richmond area, definitely come check out the race. And only having one race a year, I think, is going to be beneficial for the raceway. So that's kind of what we're kind of looking at. We're looking at, 2 dominators from the fall race last year, 2 dominators from the spring race last year, but no dominators in 2023. They played with some option tires last year, which kind of threw things. And then the spring race had, it started with almost like kind of an option tire. It started with rain. And then once the track started to not be as wet, they went to a rain tire for the first, 50, 60 laps. Then they were able to go back to the regular tire. So both these races kind of had an option tire involved with it, where the 2023 season did not have any, and there was little to no tire fall off. They were able to run 120, 130 laps on a same set of tires, which really kind of made for a boring race, to be perfectly honest. I enjoyed it because there was still some strategy involved, but tonight's race is going to be chock full of different strategies. I think we're really in store for a really good race after watching practice. I'm pretty excited about tonight's race. All right, so the other 4 races and how the points got kind of distributed from starting positions, and this doesn't take into account pricing or driver. It's just literally where did people start and who made the top 15 in points. And the top 15 in points really kind of averages out to be close to about the 35. So realistically, on the low end, to cut that field down to 15, we need to be 35 points or higher, and we'll kind of get into that when we get to the calculator. Hold on one second. Just my dad sending me a text making sure there's nothing big. He was just talking about a storm. Back to this. So what we're trying to do is narrow down to that 15 core drivers with about another 5. And to do that, we really need to look at what consists of the top 15. Well, the top 15 in points needs to get to about 35 points. And the bulk of it is coming from the kind of the front half. So there's 5.2 drivers from the top 10 that make the top 15, 4.2 from 11 through 20, 4.4 from 21 to 30, and only 1.2 from 31st to worst. Now, this is mostly an indication of because the tire didn't fall off, it was very hard to pass. The cars were super equal. I think with this much softer tire, we're going to see a lot more place differential than we did before. Not saying that we're going to have a bunch of guys that are coming from starting in the 30s, but I think we're going to definitely be able to see a lot of movement in the 11 through 30 range is kind of what I'm thinking. And we may end up seeing some fall off from some of the guys that I think overqualified. Yeah, we definitely had some guys overqualify compared to their practice speeds. They really bumped up their pressures. But talking about strategies, who's going to need to play the biggest strategy game? Well, Tyler Reddick has pretty much locked himself into the playoffs because we only have 2 more races. And if we happen to get 2 new winners, that still doesn't even knock Reddick out. And there's almost a 60-point difference between Bowman and Reddick. So I think Reddick is pretty much, if he hasn't been officially locked in, he's pretty much going to be locked into the race. So not a whole lot of strategy calls probably coming from Tyler Reddick, other than maybe trying to get some playoff points if he has the opportunity to win a stage or anything like that. I don't really see that in Tyler Reddick. He's gotten better at these under 1 mile style tracks, but he's still not great at them. Now, 2311 did practice pretty well, so we'll have to kind of see. But most of 2311 was in Group 1, and there's a big difference between Group 1 and Group 2 when it came to practice. The speeds are much better in Group 1, but they're really not that big of a difference. Well, you'll see when we get to the practice data. It's very telling and should be very interesting to see how that all flies. But really, the guys that are really going to start to throw huge strategy calls. I mean, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger. You know, if you happen to get a new winner, most of these guys are, I mean, pretty much at this point, they're almost in a must-win situation. I guess Ryan Preece, if he can have a phenomenal day, he doesn't necessarily have to win, especially if he gets some stage points, he might be able to bump up. But strategy calls are going to absolutely come into play with a lot of these guys, where not maybe as much from the guys who are already locked in. They'll still throw some strategy calls out there, but aggressive strategy calls going completely the opposite. But I think fresh tires are always going to be king, and typically are when we talk about NASCAR racing. All right, let's get into the driver breakdown. Most expensive guy, the local boy, Denny Hamlin, has 5 total wins in his Cup career here at Richmond. It is his home track. He grew up just down the road in Chesterfield, I guess probably about 30 minutes away, but he's always called Richmond kind of his home track. So can Denny get another win at Richmond? Absolutely. He practiced really well, and he's qualified somewhat close to the front. But his price tag is $11,000 in Draftkings. The races that we compare to for this chart are found here. Richmond, which is the last 4 races of Richmond, and because Iowa is similar, Iowa is also in the mix. And for those 5 races, Denny Hamlin, this line here has Denny Hamlin's. He's got 1 win, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 53.3 DraftKings average. Well, remember the kind of the cutoff that we're looking for on the Higher end, we want to be close to 55, and on the top 15 low end, we want to be over 35. Well, Denny Hamlin definitely falls into that as an average. He has an average finish of 9.8 and an average running position of 7.6. He's really, really good here at Richmond. He should be. He kind of grew up in the area and has raced at that track a lot. He finished second in this race last year after the Austin Dillon dive bomb to Joey Logano, which then collected Denny slightly. Or actually, I think because of the dive bomb, Denny was able to get underneath or make a move on Austin, and then Austin got into Denny, but Denny still ended up finishing second either way. And then the total race history here at Richmond are all the cup races and cup starts that these guys do. 36 total starts, 5 wins, 20 out of 36 times he has finished in the top 5. Very, very consistent. 31 out of 36 is finished in the top 20 with an 8.1 average finish. Denny Hamlin is really, really good at this style track. He has 4 wins on the season. His practice speeds, he was in the second group, which was typically on the single speed chart a little bit slower. But the next slide we look at will show kind of they're all about average, and they all fall off a tremendous amount. But nobody was really way out of bounds or really, really fast. But Denny was third on single lap, which was really good being in the second group. He did 52 laps of practice, 13th on a 15-lap consecutive average. Because it's a short track, we get a lot more lap data because they can make trips around this little 3/4 mile track in about 22 to 23 seconds, falling off all the way to 25 seconds. But either way, well under 30 seconds per lap. So they can definitely clip off a lot in 25 minutes. All right, our practice speeds. So Denny Hamlin is in yellow here. Kyle Busch, who was in the first practice group, but he was the fastest in single lap and the fastest in 15 lap, which is probably this part right here. Denny Hamlin did not quite get to that speed, but Denny Hamlin's fall off was not as bad as Kyle Busch's fall off. Different factors from that. If Denny started off a little slower, he was able to have some more speed towards the end. But if we really look, I mean, they're in the 23.2, 23.3 second range on fire off. I mean, Kyle Busch was almost at 23. By the end of their run, when this is at about lap 31, Kyle Busch is all the way up at 25.5 from 23. So 2.5 second fall off in 30 laps. That is a tremendous amount. That's almost a 10% speed fall off in that amount of time. Denny Hamlin from 23.2, it looks like, to at lap 30, 25.2. So 2 second fall off. So anywhere from a 2 to 2.5 second fall off in 30 laps. And the first stage is 70 laps. If they fall off another 2 to 2.5 seconds, you're absolutely going to see some strategies being played in the middle of the pack. You do lose a lap, but you can gain a lap back pretty quickly with fresh tires, especially when you're running 2.5, 3 seconds faster than the leader. And if the leader or somebody up front has not pitted, and let's say you're the 4th place car, and you pit at lap 35, well, at that point, you're going to run 2 seconds faster, and if the fall off continues at the same rate, it's not going to fall off completely at the same rate, but you're probably looking at 4 second fall offs by the end of a 70 lap run if the tire actually holds up for the 70. We could see a situation not as severe as we saw at Bristol last spring, but we could see an issue where tires get so slow that the difference between fresh tires or guys that are able to manage their tires be absolutely incredibly different speeds. All right, either way, let's put this on the calculator. What does Denny Hamlin need to do in his race to get to that? I guess I left the optimal at 65. You can probably even go down to really 60, but at $11,000, we'll keep the optimal for Denny at about 65. Let's move him down to 60. So he's starting in 4th. If his average finish between similar style tracks is 9.8. He has a best of first and a worst of 24th in those similar style tracks. So that would be Phoenix, Iowa, Richmond. There was one other one, but that's when I say the similar style tracks. When I talk about the last 5, those are the last 4 races here at Richmond and the 1 race at Iowa. So that's the last 5 races that we're looking at. Between all that being said, actually, no, I am sorry. Mistaken. I just started this new process, so I'm still getting used to the last 5 oval tracks that they have run this year, which would include Iowa. But the last 5 ovals. I want to make sure I get this right. Let's see. Cup schedule. That is going to be, because we've had a lot of road courses in this mix, that would be Iowa, Indy, Dover, Atlanta, and Pocono. So in those last 5 races, Denny Hamlin has a 12.2 average finish. He does have a first and a 31st. The similar last 5, I think, is the 4 Richmond and the 1 Iowa. 9.8. Yes, that correlates, 9.8. All right, so between those two, we kind of take the average. So an average finish of about 11th. If he's starting in 4th and he has an average finish of 11th, and I've already gone in and looked at the average fast laps for the last 5 similar style tracks, the 4 Richmond, 1 Iowa race. He has 20 fast laps and 46 laps led. Now, a lot of that has to do with starting position and that type of stuff, but all we can really do is go on averages to at least get our starting point. And if he does all of the averages, he's at a 45.5. Well, that is in the top 15 in points, but that's not going to play at $11,000. It's not going to make the optimal. But he's not necessarily out of what I would consider the 15 to 20 drivers that we want to look at as our core base drivers. So what is Denny Hamlin going to need to do to get to about 60 points, starting in 4th? Well, first off, let's just put him finishing where he starts. Well, that's 60.5 if he's able to lead 46 laps and have 20 fast laps. I mean, that's only 10% of the race, or about 11.5% of the race that he would have to lead, because we do have a 400-lap race. Starting in 4th, I think Denny Hamlin could easily work his way to the front and actually get some laps led. So I think all these things are possible. I think Denny Hamlin is absolutely a really good call for being at least in the top 15, if not being one of the potential optimal lineup drivers that at least I'll be targeting. So, if he finishes any better than that, it's just icing on the top. I mean, if he finishes in 1st, it's a 68.5 if he only leads 46 laps. We've seen guys lead 120 laps. Well, what does that do? I mean, it's going to take him way up there. It's 87 points. And if he does that, he's probably going to have a few more fast laps. The fast laps to laps led kind of equate here. A 2-to-1 ratio or 3-to-1 ratio is kind of what ends up kind of playing with these short to intermediate style tracks. All right, Christopher Bell, because clean air is king and running up front, you can run faster. Better downforce, better handling, more speed. Christopher Bell, next in line here. So Denny Hamlin is still in our lineups. Good to know. All right, Christopher Bell, 10,800, starting in the 8th position. Also, a reminder, of all the teams, Toyota has been king at Richmond forever and ever and ever. Toyota is one of the main sponsors of Richmond. All those things just happen to kind of play in. But Joe Gibbs and Toyota have been very, very dominant for, the last 10, 15 years. Now, the other team right behind them is Hendrick. Hendrick has also had really, really good cars here at Richmond. In past history, we've had some Fords and things like that make some noise, but consistently the Joe Gibbs and the Hendrick guys have been typically top of the heap when it comes to Richmond. Christopher Bell, 10,800, starting in 8th, was 14th in single lap, 32nd in 15-lap consecutive average. He was in the second group with Denny Hamlin also. In the last 5 races that we're comparing to, mostly Richmond, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 10.6 average finish, but his Draftkings average is actually much higher, which makes me think that he has had some starts where he started further back and had a fair amount of place differential, but a 64.7. So that would actually almost play into the optimal lineup by itself. So Christopher Bell absolutely looks like probably to be in play, but we'll put him on the calculator and see what happens here. He finished 6th in this race last year. He's got 9 total starts. He does not have a win, but he does have 4 out of the 9 in the top 5 with a 7.3 average finish. So his full history at Richmond is actually really, really good. 3 wins on the season, and he's starting to kind of turn the wick up. And Christopher Bell, very similar to Hamlin, but not quite as good. Very, very consistent, at least on the average lap times. Did have a little bit better long run speed over Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch did fire off faster. That could have easily been from the practice session that they were in, the practice group that they were in. By the way, Christopher Bell definitely showing some average to pretty much just about average speeds, really, all the way across. And this is all the way to 36. I mean, we're still looking at 25.7 and firing off at a 23.2. I mean, we're still talking 2.2 seconds per lap fall off. I said it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait for this race tonight. I'm actually really excited. Usually I always love going to the race and it's always fun, but I think we actually might see a really good race tonight. Now the aero is going to play into it, but the track's wide enough that I think we're going to have a good race. All right, so let's put him on the calculator. So starting in 8th, his average finish is 14th because he's got a 10.6 for the last 4 to 5 races here at Richmond. And for the last 5 races on ovals, it's an 18.0 with the best place of 8th. So, and at the similar style tracks, 4. So either way, we got an average finish of about 14th. He has 28 fast laps and 31 laps led. As an average, that's 43.35. It's enough to be in the top 15, but not close enough to be in the optimal. What is he going to have to do to try to get close to that optimal? Well, he's got a little more place differential than Denny, but we'll move him up to 4th. That puts him real close to that 60 to 65 points that we're looking at if he's able to lead a few laps and have some fast laps, which is definitely possible with this new tire model that they've got. So Christopher Bell, I think, is absolutely in play. And if we go back and look at the optimal lineups, we're not necessarily only looking for only one driver like we have in the past that'll start in the top 10 and potentially finish in the top 10. We could look at 2 or even 3. In the fall race last year, we had a 5th place start, a 1st, and a 6th. In the spring, we had a 7th and a 1st. And in the 2023 races, we had a 5th, a 4th, and a 9th. So we're not just looking for one driver that's starting in the top 10. You should still look at 2 drivers, maybe even 3 that will start in the top 10 or top 15, and then the other ones will be more of a place differential play. That could still have good finishes too. But Christopher Bell get to a 4th. Anything better than that would probably put him very, very close to the optimal lineup. Also, all depending on how things kind of work out when you build your lineups. But Christopher Bell's definitely still in play, still potentially in the top 15 of the drivers we're going to look at, or that you want to kind of keep as your core. Kyle Larson, 10,500. This Hendrick car, number 5, just cannot get out of its own way this I don't know, ever since Memorial Day. Ever since Kyle tried to do the double, it's almost like he got cursed. I don't really believe in that, but karma's definitely a thing. I don't think he did anything wrong, so I don't think it's a bad karma. It's just, they've just had really, really bad luck the last 2.5 to 3 months. Brake lines, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time, just missing slightly on setups. Larson's just had a tough go at it recently, and it's kind of a shame because I'm a Larson fan. But can he turn it around? Well, his practice speeds were really good. He was in the first practice, which was slightly faster. But then he went out and just missed in qualifying again. And they are just shooting themselves in the foot every week. Now, that 30th could be potentially a gain for us in Draftkings, But I don't know how much I trust in Kyle Larson right now. I mean, one of these races he's going to fire off and he's going to be the old Kyle Larson and just put a butt whooping on the field. Starting in 30th, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to play some strategy calls if they plan on making it close to the top 10. But he does have one win here at Richmond. Actually, got 2 total wins here at Richmond, but in the last 4 races, he's got a win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 51.5 Draftkings average, 11.6 average finish with a 10th place average running position. He finished 7th in this race last year. 20 total starts. Half the time he's finishing in the top 10. 19 out of 20 he's finishing in the top 20. I mean, Kyle Larson should still end up with a decent day. Should being the big word. So let's look at his practice speeds. He fired off just as fast as Kyle Busch, if not slightly faster in some spots. We could have almost used him as the constant, but I went with Kyle Busch since he actually got listed as first in single and 15 lap. But Kyle Larson, really, really good. Same kind of fall off, though. I mean, Kyle Larson actually got to 40 laps on this chart, and he's almost all the way at 26 where he started at 23. I mean, that's almost a 3-second fall off. It's a 2.7 fall off within 40 laps. That is unbelievably huge amount of tire fall off. I said, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this race tonight. I just hope that we see the same thing. If we do, it's going to be good. Kyle Larson, like I said, 10,500, starting in 30th. His average finish is 11th. 11.6 to be more exact on both of these. So we'll just kind of put him as an 11th. He's starting in 30th. He's averaging 20 fast laps and 50 laps led. Now, starting in 30th, I don't think he's going to go and lead 50 laps. So we'll just take out the laps led. Just because it's just going to be that hard to get up there and lead a whole lot of laps. Biggest thing here with Kyle Larson, it's all place differential. How far can he go? Well, if he just gets to 11th and, working his way up there, he's going to have some fast laps, but we'll kind of tone that down a little. We'll go to 10. Well, if he gets to 11th, that's 55.5. That's probably not going to cut it. He's going to need to probably get to, 8th or 7th? Which, I mean, 7th place finish is 64.5. I mean, if we go back and look, he's not far off from that. Now, he is starting in 30th. He has been kind of on a bad streak lately. So it all depends on if you trust Larson. If you trust Larson, he's definitely one of the plays. He's going to probably be fairly heavily owned. I'm probably guessing on the low end, 28%. On the high end, could be as much as 45 or 50%. So he definitely is one of the cars that I have ranked fairly high. So, but he's going to have high ownership. So it's kind of be with the crowd or be against the crowd type of mentality when it comes to Kyle Larson. We've talked about that multiple times on other breakdowns. William Byron, 10,400, starting in 14th. He always tends to have, I mean, I guess he did win Iowa. So, and this track is very similar to Iowa. So he potentially has a decent shot here. Let's see. Starting in 14th, he was in the second group, so the slightly slower group. 24th in single lap, 17th in 15 lap consecutive average. He does have the one win at Iowa for similar style tracks. But if we look at the rest of the body of work, it's not phenomenal for Richmond. It's only 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 13.2 average finish with a 9.8 average running position. He finished in 13th in this race last year. 13 total starts. I mean, he's consistently finishing in the top 20, but it's not 3 out of 13. So less than, what was that? 20%, 18% that he's finishing in the top 10. 15.1 average finish. So let's look at his practice speeds. Didn't fire off as fast as Kyle Busch. It looks like they probably came in here, made an adjustment. He went back out, fired off a little bit better than average, and a little bit better than Kyle Busch. So the adjustments worked out for the better, but he was still just a tick slow and even a little tick slower than average. But let's put him on the chart. If we look at the last 5 oval races at a 22.4, and the last 5 for the similar style tracks, the 4 Richmond, 1 Iowa, 13.2. So we've got an average finish of 14th. Well, if he's starting in 14th, that's a negative place differential. That's not going to be good. He does have a lap led average of 51. A lot of that came from Iowa and other races that he led a lap, and then the fuel mileage didn't work out. Starting in 14th, it's going to be tough to get up there and lead the 51 laps. Possible, but we're going to tone that down. That's the average. So let's tone that down to 20. If that's the case, we could tone the fast lap down to about 10. That's going to be 30.5. So how far up does William Byron need to go for him to be in our core set of players? 7th, not going to cut it. 4th, still not quite there. Top 3 would probably be okay. So William Byron, top 3 finish when he's only finished in the top 5 once in his career at Richmond. It's a little bit risky. There is momentum on his side from winning at Iowa. The race at Watkins Glen was okay for him, not great. What was the other stat that I saw that I thought was crazy? I just had a brain blip. This was the first time in like 25 or 30 years that we've had consecutive races with all cars running at the end of the race. Yeah, it was a fascinating stat. I don't know where I found that, but I could look at my trend line and see. Hold on. Here's where I go off of my little tangents. Sorry. Yeah, so let's see. Iowa, everybody finished the race still running, including Joey Gase. Indy. Okay, Ross Chastain at Indy looks like he did not finish. So we have Iowa and Watkins Glen, everybody finished. Yeah, so the last 2 races, everybody that started the race finished the race. Now, we had some mechanical and stuff issues like with Kyle Larson, but he was able to come back out and finish the race while still running under power and up to speed. I just thought the stat was pretty crazy. I don't think we're going to see that tonight. I think we're going to have just a little bit of carnage. I don't think we're going to have a ton because you can still limp around this track fairly easily well. Probably not going to have a very good car, but you can limp around and get to the finish. But we could see some real tire failures, and you do that, and your day might be done. They carry enough speed in the corners that you hit that wall, and car doesn't usually come out the other side too well. So William Byron's kind of a little iffy. I would put him kind of in that 15 to 20 spot. I don't know if I'll have a whole lot of ownership in Willie B, but I'm also not going to fade him because he has had tendencies to have some decent runs at these style tracks. Richmond's just not his best. Same thing with Ryan Blaney. He's not great at Richmond. 10,200. He's starting in 20th, so we've got some potential place differential. Ryan Blaney's usually pretty good about his tire wear and tire strategy. And the Penske's can typically run a little further than a lot of the rest of the field. Now, his practice speeds, he was in the second group, kind of where he qualified. 20th in single lap, 12th in 15 lap. He did 51 total laps of practice. One top 5, 1 top 10. And those came at Iowa that he won. So, realistically, he's never finished in the top 5, ever. 17 total starts at Richmond, never finished in the top 5 once. Only 3 times in the top 10. And a little over half the time he finishes in the top 20. So, kind of averaging a finish of 19.5. And if we look at his average running position, it's a 16.3. I mean, that's not great starting in 20th. So let's look at his practice speeds. Well, he definitely fired off on the slower side. They came in and made adjustments. They fired back off pretty quick. They were kind of able to hold and maintain below average until about lap 30-31. But his first off the truck load speed was not great. The adjustments that they made definitely helped, but then he still went out and qualified 20th. So not 100% sure. Like I said, his track history here is not great. Well, if we look at the averages from the last 5 similar tracks and the last actual 5 ovals that we've run, we're looking at an average finish of about 13th. He's got about 22 fast laps on average and 6 laps led by average. If he get to 13th, that's a 48.4. Well, at 10,200, that's not going to be where we need to get him to. He's going to need to finish better than that. And he's going to need to at least get in the top 10. If he gets to 6th, that plays. Top 5 would probably put him there. But he's never finished in the top 5 at Richmond before. So I don't know why he's run really well at Iowa. Now, they are slightly different. One's an eighth of a mile longer than the other one. The banking is slightly different, but the design layout is very similar. So why Brian Blaney can't quite get a handle on Richmond is a little bit of a head scratcher. But Penske, the only one who's run well here from Penske is Joey Logano. And it's not phenomenal. And he's got his own issues for this weekend. But, is Ryan Blaney in play? Sure. I kind of put him right there with the Willie B type of play. It's, I'm going to need you to have a really, really good career type of day to make that happen. And honestly, I mean, the practice speeds were better at the end, but they weren't great. So the question is how the guy that fires off fast and is able to maintain that speed for any amount of time could do what Ty Majeski did last night and stink up Stage 1 and Stage 2. All right, next line here, Chase Elliott at $10,000 starting in 5th. He was 29th in single lap. He was 28th in 15 lap consecutive average. He did, I think this is the most laps run in practice was 56. I think Chase Elliott may have that. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that number as we go through. But I think Chase Elliott may have run the most laps in practice. In the 5 races we're comparing to, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, a 10.3 average finish with a 10.4 average running position. He finished in 9th last year. 17 total starts at Richmond with 6 top 5s and 8 top 10s, and a 10.8 average finish. All indications are you're going to finish about 10th here, Chase, starting in 5th. So there's practice speeds, though. Same thing as kind of like Ryan Blaney. He kind of fired off a little on the slow to average side. They made some adjustments, it looks like, and then they fired off, and their long run speed improved vastly. And that's the whole thing, is these guys, the crew chiefs are really smart, the engineers are really smart. They'll make adjustments to these cars to get if they see a huge amount of tire wear at the beginning of this race, they'll make some adjustments that'll help gain tire to where the tire doesn't fall off as much, but they would have to sacrifice some speed at the front end of the run. So it's, you want to go and run really fast for 25 laps and then have 40, 50 laps of really slow laps, or do you want to kind of just have a nice solid pace across the board? I think it all depends on where you're running. But they will make adjustments to where they'll get the tires to last longer. I mean, even the spring race from last year at Bristol, by the end of that, I mean, when they first fired off, they weren't even able to make 30 or 35 laps without tires almost, disintegrating. They finally made the adjustments, were able to get that almost doubled. They were into the 55 or 60 lap range. Now, they were still really slow, but they were able to make the adjustments to make the tires last. But starting in 5th, average finish of 9th, 5 average fast laps and 5 laps led, 34.5. Well, that's not even in the top 15. So Chase Elliott's definitely going to need to get up and go and lead some laps, which I think is possible kind of starting in the 5th position. And I think Chase Elliott's kind of might be hunting for some playoff points. So if he can possibly get himself a win during a stage, I think he may try to take that. And it is not beneficial. You will go a lap down if you try to pit under green, like before the stage breaks. So that is not going to be a play. It's going to be either we have a really, really long green flag run and everybody goes through the pit cycle, or the only time you're going to come and get tires is under caution. So, because you do lose about a lap to a lap and a half. Now, you can make that up if it's a really, really long green flag runs, and that's where the strategy comes in. Do you come in early? Do you stay out and wait? So, the staying out and waiting, you're only hoping for a caution because you're going to be at a significant tire disadvantage if you wait too long. But if he gets to third with, I mean, that's one thing. Chase Elliott's not one that goes out and leads a ton of laps unless it's Dover. And his practice speeds don't really show anything that makes me indicate that he's going to go and dominate this field. And starting from fifth with Denny starting next to you, that's going to be a little tough. But we could bump this up a little bit. We can go to 25, and I don't think he's just not one of those that runs a whole lot of fast laps. Even during his domination at Dover, he didn't have a ton of fast laps. I mean, it's 51.5 to finish in third. So I'm kind of in that grouping of out of the William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott. I mean, right now I think if I had to put a 1, 2, 3 on him, I'm probably putting 1 Blaney because he's got maybe the best place differential, but it's not great. Then 2 would be Byron, and then 3 would be Elliott, but I don't really love any of the calls. All right, next in line here, my favorite driver, Joey Logano. He's going to force me to take some Joey Logano this week. 9,700, starting in 38th. Shotgun on the field, dead last. He wrecked in practice and did a qualifying lap just to do a qualifying lap because he needed to scuff the tires in. He was god-awful slow during practice. I think they missed the setup or something was broken or not correct. Because he blew a tire 20 laps into his practice run and clobbered the wall. But his average finishes here, like I said, he's probably out of all the Fords, he's one of the better Ford drivers and definitely the best Penske driver here. He's got 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Remember last year, he pretty much had a chance to win until Austin Dillon took him out of the race. 8.2 average finish, 10.3 average running position. And last year it should have been a first or a second, not a 19th. So that definitely kind of skews the average finish a little bit. 31 total starts, 2 wins, almost half the time he's finishing in the top 5. So he's very Denny Hamlin-esque. So starting in 38th seems to be a shoo-in for an absolute place differential and an almost must-play. Is Logano in a backup car, or did they repair the other one? The last I heard was they were making repairs to it because to go to a backup car takes... Yeah, it's actually, there's a lot of work that goes into going to a backup car. One of them is you've got to get NASCAR's permission, and if NASCAR doesn't think that the car is that damaged, and I don't really think it was that damaged. I mean, he hit the wall pretty hard, but I've seen cars in practice get practically destroyed. I mean, ones that come to mind, Byron did it in a practice, and they repaired the car. So I have not seen actual proof that he stayed in his primary car, but my guess is that he stayed in his primary car. With the Twitter, and I'm seeing posts from all around the Richmond area of people going out for lunches and stuff. I'm like, oh, I know that place. Let's see. You know, Bob Pockers typically, or Jeff Gluck is usually pretty good about staying if they're going to a backup car. Brad K. Yeah, it's really weird that Draftkings has Brad Keselowski with a question mark on it, and it's been there all weekend. And I've literally scoured every website, blog, whatever, to find nothing about why Brett Keselowski has a question mark in DraftKings. I just think it's a mistake. It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, even all the AI models are like, yeah, we don't know. There's no indication that he's got a personal or physical injury. Let's see. Does Bob say anything about Joe Logano going back up? Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Zilich. That was a crazy Zilich moment last week. Joe Logano would be the rear, although starting there, teams do pre-race checks of the cars down. Anyone going to the rear still? Okay, so all indications are it looks like Joe Logano stayed in his primary car and they made repairs, which makes absolute sense. I don't see any indications that he went to a backup car. Hopefully that helps. I couldn't find it either, but another YouTuber said LaJoy was his replacement if he couldn't. So I think, well, why would, I mean, Joey's not hurt. So I don't know why he would need a replacement. LaJoy is a replacement driver for Keselowski. But what's the issue with Keselowski? I mean, he's doing interviews with Bob Pockers, and they're not saying anything. Yeah, I mean, he had a run. Let's see. Bob Pockers says many of you saw highlights last week of Brett Keselowski running to say something to Carson Hocevar. So, I mean, he's running after Carson Hocevar. They didn't have a fight. I'm looking at an interview with Brad in the media center. He's laughing, giggling about the whole thing. Brad's not injured. Brad doesn't have any issues or problem. Michael McDowell stuff. Yeah, no. Looks like Brad's perfectly fine. So I'm not worried about the tag of questionable. Baby watch? Keselowski's on baby watch? I didn't know his wife was pregnant. Really? Okay. I mean, not that I go looking to find out what drivers are going to have babies or not, but yeah, you would have thought that somebody would. Well, he's in Richmond. This will be their fourth child? Yeah, we'll put it into the old AI. Let's see. What's Grok had to say? Is Brad Keselowski wife expecting a baby? It is searching. Yes, Brad Keselowski's wife, Paige White, is expecting their fourth child. She was due on August 19th, following the Coke 600 on August. So she's due Tuesday. So I guess really the baby watch really will come whenever. But I mean, from Richmond, they live in Charlotte. At the most, the flight back, and I'm sure he's got the a private jet, is like an hour. So she can go into labor now and not have that baby before he finishes the race and gets home. So for any of you people who've had kids out there, they don't typically come out real fast, especially their fourth one. They know how much time they've got. So he should be perfectly fine to race. Yeah, and I mean, I know LaJoy is in and around. So, but hold on. Does LaJoy drive a Ford? LaJoy drives for Chevy. So I would be surprised if LaJoy would be the backup driver. You'd think you'd go to a Ford driver that might be in and around town, like Ty Majeski or somebody like that. I'm not. Yeah, the manufacturers get real picky about putting in drivers from other manufacturers in their cars. I know LaJoy. I mean, he is now full time in the truck series with a Chevy team, as far as I remember. He's with Spire. That's Chevy. But Joey Logano. Let's get back to talking about Joey. Ton of place differential here. Great finishes. Always seems to run this track well. The question is, why was his car so slow? And I'm sure they were able to make repairs. He's going to be 55-60% owned. He's going to be that most owned driver. It's either be with the crowd or against the crowd. I mean, there's a better chance that he's going to end up in the optimal lineup than not end up in the lineup. So I'm probably going to be pretty even with the field. I'm probably going to run about half my lineups. But that's really about where I'm going to be with Joey. I mean, we've seen guys, we saw Ross start the Coke 600 and last and win the race. We saw Denny Hamlin start last at a road course and finish in fourth. These guys are coming from the rear. Now, the question is, did they get whatever was ailing that car fixed? And does he end up going laps down if they haven't? I don't know. I could see. I mean, if I knew that he was absolutely going to go and get a top 15 finish, because if he does that, it's 60.9 with not even leading one lap and having 17 fast laps. I mean, we zero these out. 0 fast laps, 0 laps led, and he gets to his average finish of 14th. That's what I have. But if he gets to an average finish at Richmond, which is an 8th, that's 66 points. It absolutely puts him in the optimal lineup at $9,700. So, can he get there? Absolutely. He is really good at this track. He's also got to pass 30 cars to get there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have 50% ownership and just be like, okay, if he makes it, I'll have 50% of my lineups correct. If he doesn't, I'm going to have 50% of my lineups that are wrong. There's just no real way to balance it unless you just go way under or way over on the field. And going way over, if he has a bad race, you're sunk. So I think that's why you just kind of stay even and go 50-50 if you're running multiple lineups. All right, Chase Briscoe, who has just been phenomenal at qualifying lately, did not qualify quite as well. This 19 car has been phenomenal at Richmond in the past. Briscoe, not so much. He's never finished in the top 10 or top 5. Now, all his races were with Ford and with Stewart Haas. So he's never raced in a Joe Gibbs car here, which, as you heard earlier, Joe Gibbs is phenomenal at Richmond. It is absolutely probably one of their best tracks. So, can Chase Briscoe have a much better day than his average? Absolutely. Starting at 19th, there's definitely some room to run. So his average finishes are a little tough to look at. Now, do I think he goes and gets a win? I mean, sure, it's possible. I'm more expecting a 8, 9, 10th place type of finish. Could be slightly worse, could be slightly better. Somewhere between 5 and 15 would be reasonable. You know, his practice speeds were not great. He fired off a little slow. Looks like they made some adjustments. Fired off about average again to worse. I mean, we're still talking 23.5 to almost 26 seconds. Still talking 2.5, 3 second fall off over the course of 30 laps. Can't pay that price. Not sure he leads laps. Briscoe? And are you talking about Briscoe, I guess, at 9,500 starting at 19th? I mean, we've got some place differential. And if he gets to 12th, yes, okay. Yeah, and I don't think he's going to go lead a lot of laps, so we can zero that out. I mean, his average is 16 for the comparison of the last 5 races. I think everybody's going to have a chance to lead some laps because of the tire fall off difference. But if he goes into gets to 12th, it's only 40.25. He's going to need to get himself all the way up to 8th. Nope, doesn't quite cut it. 6th, doesn't quite cut it. 5th, kind of gets you close. 3rd gets you a lot closer. But yeah, you're going to need some fast laps or laps led. And I just don't. Denny Hamlin's phenomenal at this track. I mean, Joey's starting way in the back, so Joey's not going to be a huge factor to begin with. But, you got guys like Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski that are starting further up that I think have more potential to get to a lead. So, I mean, the RFK guys look phenomenal, and they have been phenomenal at least over the last 5 oval courses of this year. And Brad's not a slouch here at Richmond. He is starting in 6th. His practice speeds were not great. He was 25th and 30th in the first practice session, so that's not should be where you see the more fast speeds. But if you watch practice, he didn't go out with a torrent pace to start compared to everyone else. Kind of looked like he was managing his stuff, almost like he knew that there was going to be a huge tire fall off coming, and he wanted to kind of see where he was going to kind of come out at the other side. But like I said, I mean, it's just 30 total starts at Richmond, 2 wins, 6 top 5s, 15. So half the time he's finishing in the top 10. Not quite as good as Denny Hamlin, but still, he's really good here. And currently, they are on a really, really good streak of finishing in the top 10, if not top 5. Yeah, I mean, his average finish for the last 5 oval races is 5.8, which is best in the field. That's excluding road courses. All right, so, I mean, his practice speeds were average. They were just average. There was no real difference between him and the rest of the field. Wasn't super fast anywhere, wasn't super slow anywhere. So I think he kind of maintains and holds in the top 5. Brad is definitely one of those that he is going to run a long run, which I think gives him the opportunity to potentially lead laps if we start to see green flag pit stops. We really don't have a great indication of that happening until we get into it, but he's got 34 laps average for these races that we're comparing to, 20 fast laps. He's starting in 6th. He has an average finish of 7th. That's 53.5. So he's going to need to finish slightly better. He's going to need to get to 4th, 5th, 4th. 4th gets him real close at 9,200. A top 3 would definitely put him in there. So I think the Brad K call is actually one of the... So out of the drivers that are starting in the top 10, I like Brad and I like Denny. I think they both could easily... We could see a real old classic battle between Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin in this race, which we haven't seen in a long time. Could be quite interesting. But yeah, I definitely like the Brad call. He's going to just need to finish well, and consistently recently he's been doing that. Chris Buescher, $9,000. His Brad K's a teammate. Does have a win here in the last 4 races with an average finish of 16th. Total 17 starts at Richmond, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 6 top 20s with the 1 win. Not near as consistent as Brad K, but Brad K's been doing this for a long time. The other thing is, if we do see extreme tire wear that I think we're going to see, the old school drivers are going to be the ones that the cream's going to rise to the top. And we saw it at Bristol spring of last year. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, those guys were the ones that showed up at the end because they knew how to manage the car, they managed their tires, they managed the equipment, and they managed the race. Not that Chris Buescher can't do that, but Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin absolutely know how to do that. So, I mean, Chris also got his win kind of on a strategy call. So, I'm not taking anything away from that. It was a great strategy call, but there was a little bit of tire difference at the end of that race. So let's look at his practice speeds. I mean, he was, if anything, maybe slightly slower than Brad Keselowski and slightly slower than average, and he's starting slightly better. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be wanting to get stage points as much as he is going to want to get a win in case there are 2 new winners. I mean, he would love to be one of the new winners. But, let's say Brad K goes out and gets the win today. And then now Buescher is going to be battling with one person for the final playoff spot. And we're going to craziness of Daytona. I mean, Chris Buescher's plus 34. Well, let's say that Brad K gets the win. Well, that pushes Tyler Reddick down, pushes Alex Bowman down. But so Chris Buescher's 34 points. If we get a new winner that's outside looking in, Buescher's almost in a must-win situation at that point. And at that point, almost Alex Bowman is too. So Chris is going to be on it. But I also think he's going to need to take advantage of place differentials at stage breaks. So they're going to set him up for that also. What is he going to need to get to for Draftkings, though? Because as much as I like to look at the playoff picture, I'm actually more concerned about winning money and finishing well in my tournaments. So starting in 12th, I'm not sure he might lead some laps. We'll leave that alone. We'll leave the 15. We'll keep the average. He's going to need to finish kind of like Brad. He's going to need to finish in the top 3, top 4, top 5. I mean, he's won here before, so it's definitely possible. But it's not an easy feat, and it's not the most comfortable call. So I don't mind the Chris Buescher play. I don't love him. I kind of put him right there with the grouping of Ryan Blaney and William Byron and or somebody else. Elliott? Yeah. Yeah, the Byron, Blaney, Elliott, Chris Buescher. I don't mind them. I probably won't have a whole lot of them. Is this a race where you can go on a different strategy away from points? Are you talking for DraftKings, or are we talking for actual race and playoff points for NASCAR? We're talking about DraftKings. Can you go for a different strategy from points? I mean, you're still... The 3 basic principles of DraftKings points are place differential, finishing position, and domination. And typically dominator points and finishing position kind of play hand in hand. You're really looking at 2 of those drivers to dominate, finish well, start up front, finish up front types. It's like a Denny Hamlin and a Brad Keselowski. They're going to more than likely start up front, maybe lead some laps, and then still get a top 10 finish. And those could be your 2 drivers starting in the top 10 that are in play. Beyond that, you're probably looking at least 3 place differential drivers, and that's going to come from probably starting 15th into the 30s. I don't love a whole lot of guys in the 30s. There are some, but you're really looking at 2 drivers in the top 10, 3 drivers starting 15th or worse that you think have the best opportunity for place differential, and then there's just this wild card. And that wild card has been guys like Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland. Now, they may be place differentials for this race, but they have had races. So Ty Dillon will be a great example of this wild card. Ty Dillon goes out, starts 16th. Because of his price tag, he goes and finishes in 11th. And we'll get to Ty in just a few minutes, but because of his price tag, that allows you to run Denny and Brad and Joey and Kyle probably. I don't know for sure, but let's see if my DraftKings. Nope, it's gonna make me sign in. Oh, I don't have my phone on. I need that for my code. Let me get that turned on. We'll come back to that. So to answer your question is no, like Buescher's playoff points, can he really change his strategy much for points? Oh, absolutely. Because so for the NASCAR points deal, Andrew says I'm trying to get as many lead laps. For finishing position or domination, or for a dominator. Because you're going to have to get up there and lead. So who's going to lead? Well, the guys that are probably starting up front, or the guys that were super fast in practice. Well, because practices are so wonky between the two, and the strategies are slightly different, it's a little difficult, to be perfectly honest. Let's see here. Waiting for my text to come through so we can build. I think you only need 2 dominators, though. You don't need any more than that. So it's who do you think is going to dominate? There's my code. Guess I shouldn't yell that out loud. And then you would need the screen to get to it. But either way. So we talked about what does it look like to build a lineup with Ty Dillon, who's super cheap. $5,000 for Ty Dillon. He's that one-off. So we're looking at 2 guys that are starting in the top 10, finishing in the top 10, and may lead a fair amount of laps. And I'm thinking a Denny Hamlin and a Brad Keselowski are the 2 that jump off the page real quickly. So that leaves $8,200 left over. Which is a fair amount of money. So, we talked about Joey Logano as a place differential, and we talked about a Kyle Larson. Well, that takes us under the salary cap, so you can't quite go that heavy. So, take Larson out, look for a different place differential, like a Ross Chastain. Was that $6,800 left over? That probably ends up playing pretty well. And then like a Corey Heim for place differential. So there we go. That leaves you $100 in salary cap. You've got Denny and Brad, who could be dominators / finishing in the top 5 or 10. Not a whole lot of people are going to be on Corey Heim, so he's kind of going to be kind of quiet. And a lot of people are probably going to come off Ty Dillon because he's starting in 16th. But they were really, really good in practice. And Ty Dillon's actually decent at this track. So hopefully that helps. Oh, I need to reserve my my DraftKings stuff before they fill up. All right. Well, might need to cut this short soon. I thought I'd locked in and reserved my lineups. All right. To get back to it, if you miss on the lap leaders, you're sunk. Yeah. To say the least. I mean, just as much as you're sunk if you miss the place differential guys. So, I mean, you're looking for 2 lap leaders, and you're looking for 3 place differentials out of 38 guys. Now, we can eliminate a fair amount of those guys, and that's why we do this calculator. And it's in my opinion, it's going to be a little tough for Chris Buescher to get up there and lead a ton of laps and get a really good finish. Can he do it? Sure. I don't. There's nothing currently with Chris Buescher that makes me go, ooh, yeah. Kind of like Ty Dillon. It's like, okay, I potentially see an avenue or a path there. Tyler Reddick, $8,700, starting in second. Now, he did finish this race in third last year. I'll give him credit on that. But beyond that, That was his only one top 5 and 9 total starts at Richmond. He's got a 14.9 average finish. Now, because the Toyotas are a little bit better here, he's got a better finish. His average finish is starting to come back down, but he self said he's not great here. And if we look at his practice speeds, they're at best average. And then he goes out and qualifies second. I mean, he's got an average finish of 16th. When we look at the last 5 ovals that they've run and the last 5 similar style racetracks, 4 being Richmond, 1 being Iowa, we're sitting on a 16th place average finish, starting in second. I mean, does he potentially go out and lead some laps? Yeah. But I think he ends up finishing, best 9th, 10th. Missed 37 points. That barely puts you in the top 15. I'm probably going to be almost a full fade on Tyler Reddick. I might have 1 or 2 lineups with him in it, but that's probably the most I'm going to end up having. All right, Kyle Busch, 8,500, our constant when we're looking at practice speeds, because he was fastest in single lap, he was fastest in 15 lap average, and he also leads with the most wins at Richmond with 6, 1 more than Denny Hamlin. But what have you done for me lately, Kyle, other than spin out? Not much. Can Kyle Busch finally put together a full-fledged race? I mean, there's no more person that's overdue than the 2 Kyles. And Kyle Busch is way more overdue than Kyle Larson. Other than the fact I think Kyle Busch probably has some decent ownership, I really think I like the Kyle Busch. I mean, honestly, the Busch and the Dillon brothers, stand to have a pretty decent race. Now I think one of the 3 ends up slipping. Which one of those 3? I don't know. Then that's just a gut check. But Kyle recently only 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 13.8 average finish, and finished 12th in this race last year. So they're not great numbers by any means. They're definitely not good like historical numbers. And his practice speeds, like I said, we've been looking. Hey, what's up, Wyatt? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to race day. It's race day, baby. I left him with Chase Elliott, as you know, they kind of inverted themselves early and on the long run. Yeah, I mean, I don't love Kyle Busch's long run speed, and I don't love the fact he likes to spin out every week. So there is some more of the worries there. I mean, if he goes and gets his average finish of 16th, has 8 fast laps, it's 42.6. Well, that's not going to be enough. How far up does Kyle Busch need to finish? I mean, I think this could line up for him to potentially go get a win, and they're gonna have every differing strategy that they possibly think they can get to get to the front. I mean, Kyle Busch gets to a 5th at 65.6. It's absolutely in the optimal. And in fact, at 8,500, you could probably get to 59.6, so an 8th place finish for Kyle Busch. I think that's absolutely possible. And I actually like the Kyle Busch play this week. Most of the time, I'm like, trust me, I don't love by any means. He does spin out every week. But I definitely like the Kyle Busch play. Ross Chastain, $8,300, starting in 33rd. Yeah, let's look at what Ross's last 5 races on ovals is. 28.4. He has been about god awful ever since he won at Charlotte. It's even worse than what Kyle Larson's been on. Ross has just been on the struggle bus. I don't know if they're doing some funny things to this car to try to maybe find something that they can bring in for the playoffs or what they're doing. But absolutely something is amiss with the number 1 car. Ross is not awful. He's not great at Richmond. I would probably kind of put him right there with Tyler Reddick. They're just kind of like, okay, every once in a while they'll get one right or get a strategy right. But yeah, I mean, 11.6 average finish for the 5 races we're comparing to. He finished in 5th in this race last year, but he was also not on a 28.6 average finish over the last 5 race streak either. And his fall off was miserable. I mean, it's worse than Kyle Busch's fall off. I mean, he went from almost as fast as Kyle Busch. What was he? 22nd single lap, right at about 23 seconds, to finishing in almost 26 seconds, almost a full 3-second fall off, and that was within 27 laps. That's horrendous. When everybody else is about 2.5-second fall off. So, yeah, he's starting in 33rd. Ton of place differential potential, but when you've got an average finish of 28.4, if we average and sandwich them together between the last 5 races at the similar style tracks and the last actual 5 races on ovals for this year, we can go to a 20th. Well, that's still only 34 points. That doesn't even put you in the top 15 in points. Buyer beware, but also it is Trackhouse. They still typically bring pretty decent cars. Now, they're definitely in the playoffs with Ross, definitely way in the playoffs with SVG, and their third, Suarez, is looking for a new team and isn't going to be there next year. So, I mean, we might be on a cruise control with Trackhouse at this point until the playoffs. I mean, they may be trying a lot of different weird things. So I don't love the Ross call. Don't hate the Ross call. I'll have some because there is place differential. But, I don't. It's not a, like, ooh, you got to have a lot of that. Especially starting in 33rd. He's going to have a lot of ownership. And I just don't know how well it ends up playing. Josh Berry, though, on the other hand, this guy knows how to race Richmond. This guy's really good on long run speed. This guy knows how to manage tires. And tire management is going to be absolutely king for this race. And strategy. $8,000. In fact, I think I put Josh Berry as my secret favorite or best potential value for betting. I think he was plus 40 or 4,000, so 40 to 1 to win. He's come close here before. Now, he did it in the 9 car. He didn't do it in the 21 car. And if you look at his practice speeds, they're not great, especially being in the first practice session. But he's got an average finish of 10th here with a 51.2 Draftkings average, finished in 14th, 3 starts, 1 top 5, which was in the number 9 car. Let's look at his practice speeds. Fires off a little slow, but just maintains. I mean, he falls off to a 25.6, 25.7, and started off at a 23.5. So his fall off is only like 2.2, where everybody else is 2.5. I mean, Ross was almost 3 seconds. I mean, if you can maintain a 3 or 4 tenths of a lead, of 3 tenths faster per lap average than most of the field, I mean, this long run speed might be one of the best long run speeds out there. You'll start to put a lot of hurt on a lot of people real fast if that ends up being the case. I mean, it was the difference between Ty Majeski last night and Corey Heim. By lap 10 or 15, Majeski was gone. If Barry's got that same type of speed, which at least at this indication might be the case, so what is he going to need to do to get up here? Because we don't have a whole lot of data with him, but 10th place average finish. So let's take him down to 10. I don't think that's going to be quite enough at $8,000. Nope. And I still don't think he leads a ton of laps starting in 17th, but I think he gets his way up to the front. And I think he actually might lead some laps. So we'll put him at 20. 5%. No, less than that, like 0.25%. 2%. I don't even know. Not going to figure it out. it gets to 10th, it's 53.6 by leading a few laps. If he can get to a top 5, it absolutely is in play. 6th is 61. 5th is 63.6 at $8,000. He's absolutely in play. I like the Josh Berry call. I'm going to have some ownership in Josh. And I think the stats are, for the most part, there to back it up. And he really likes Richmond. Alex Bowman, $7,800. I ended up sitting next to Josh Berry last year in the spring race, Xfinity race, and got a lot of really good knowledge from Josh last year by doing that. Randomly, by the way, I don't really know Josh Berry, but I mean, I guess he wouldn't know me. But yeah, I sat next to he and his wife and daughter for the entire Xfinity race, and he and I just sat there and talked strategy. It was wild. Alex Bowman, $7,800, starting in 9th. 30th in single lap. He's got an average finish of 15.6. He finished 28th in this race last year. He does have a win here. It was 2021, 2022. And I was there. It was a fluky race. But yeah, he's fair to average. He's not great. His practice speeds were about average, and he's starting in the top 10. I mean, honestly, I think he could easily just start where he finishes and have a few fast laps. He's also not one to go out and lead a lot of laps. He's not one to go out and dominate. So, Andrew, I don't think Alex Bowman's your guy. But if he starts where he finishes, it's 37.5. I'm going to probably fade off of Alex Bowman. I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of ownership in it. So, Ryan Preece went from really, really slow in practice. And when I mean really slow, almost as slow as Joe Logano. Slow. To first. Blistering lap. I mean, this type of track is absolutely in Ryan Preece's wheelhouse. He has run the modified races here for years. He's got an average finish of 22.3, though, for 9 starts, only one top 5. So his finishes have definitely not been there. Starting from the pole, and you were almost dead last in practice? I mean, they made some adjustments. They came back out and fired off a little bit better, but by that point, the tires were shot. I mean, Ryan Preece also did this to me at Martinsville a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He got the pole and then went out and led 160 laps or something. Still fell to I think 17th or 18th, but was, because of his price tag, he was in the optimal lineup or real close to it. I don't know. Does he go out and lead the first stage? Does he lead all 70 laps and then falls off to 13th? Well, that's 37.5. I don't know if that's going to be enough. He's really going to need to lead, 140 laps? Now he's going to have more fast laps. He'll have 35 fast laps. That's the case. I mean, that's 68, even if he falls to 13th, if he can lead 140 laps. God, it's a tough one to call. But he just really hasn't done it other than that one race at Martinsville. I mean, I definitely, out of the top 2 front row starters, I like the Preece call more than I like the Tyler Reddick call. Yeah. But I mean, he only leaves 100. That still leave him in. That kind of keeps him close. So he's going to need to lead a quarter of the race. With the funny stage breaks, with the tire fall off. And his tire fall off was okay. Wasn't great. They made the adjustments and it made it better. I don't know. I mean, I'll have, I don't know, 5 to 8%. I'll have 3 to 4 lineups with Ryan Preece in it. So not an all-out fade. I'm kind of like an all-out fade with Tyler Reddick. But I don't think Ryan Preece really falls into my core top 15. May not even fall really into the potential 25. But I'll have some one-offs with Priest with some place differentials. Bubba Wallace 7,500 starting in 7th. He was 16th in single lap, 22nd in 15 lap. He's got an 11.4 average finish for the 5 races we're comparing to, 4 of those being Richmond. 13 total starts at Richmond with a 20.5 average finish, with only 1 top 5, 1 top 10. Don't love it, don't hate it. Practice speeds were average to slightly better than average to back to average. Starting in top 10, though, they're in the Toyotas. I don't think it's going to be any better than 7th. I think it's probably going to be more like his average. I mean, sure, he could potentially get up there and do something, but I don't know if I love it. It's one of my outside picks, to be perfectly honest. I mean, finishing 13th, it's a 34.5, even if he goes and leads 17 laps. And starting in the top 10, you can keep somebody with some laps led, because I think it's possible, and especially with the tire fall-off situation we've got. Austin Dillon, our winner last year, 7,300, starting in 11th, was 11th in single lap, 6th in 15 lap consecutive average. He got the win here last year. Beyond that, though, it's 2 top 5, 7 top 10s out of 21 starts. Starting 11th, 33% of the time he's finishing in the top 10. 67% of the time he's finishing in the top 20, starting in 11th. I don't mind playing the Austin Dillon card. He's actually faster long run speed than Kyle Busch. His fall speed's really not bad. It looks like he kind of saved his equipment at the beginning, didn't fire off as fast, which made him a little bit faster in the long run. I don't think I mind the Austin Dillon play, but what is he going to need to do to get up there? And they're, at this point, kind of in the same boat as Kyle Busch. They're going to kind of have to throw some Hail Marys. A third place finish doesn't quite cut it. It's a 52.5. He's going to need to finish. He's going to need to win, pretty much, and get some more laps led. Now, I don't know if he goes out and leads what he did last year. I think he led like 65 laps or something. Last laps will tick up a little bit there. I mean, that's 82.1 if he gets to first, and he leads that amount of laps. He leads that many laps, and then, let's say, he falters a little bit, kind of like last year, but doesn't quite get the win. Gets to third. That's 76. Can he fall all the way back to 11th? Yeah. He could almost go lead 60-some-odd laps and still make definitely the top 15, maybe even an optimal play. So, I think Austin Dillon could be sneaky. I don't know if a lot of people go after him. They may look at last year's more of a fluke, but I mean, really honestly, the Colleague and RCR cards found some speed in practice, and they unloaded pretty quick. I think they potentially have a chance to, one of them, sneak up and steal the show a little bit. Carson Hocevar, 7,200, starting in 15th. Here's the issue I have with Carson. He is really good. He is very aggressive. The problem is these tires are not going to like that style of driving. And if he beats those up, he's going to very, very quickly fall towards the back. Last year, he got an 8th place finish. Starting in 15th. I mean, his practice speeds were about there. They're not super great. He did end up spinning in the last 30 seconds of practice. I don't know if I really love. I mean, I think the averages have him finishing where he starts in 15th. And I'm not sure he goes out and leads a whole lot of laps. I think in the beginning of runs, he's going to tear through the field. And he has gotten to a point where he does not care what anybody else says or does. He's just going to run through the field. But I still think it ends up being a potential just finish where you start. I mean, Carson and Ty Gibbs both at any point in time can go out and pull off a win. And don't be shocked when it happens. They both have that potential. and we just don't know when that lightning's going to strike or where. So Carson or Ty Gibbs, they're side by side, have that potential. I honestly think we may see a new winner tonight. Ty Gibbs at $7,000, but I'm going to probably fade off from Carson Hocevar. Back to that real quick. Ty Gibbs, $7,000 starting in 23rd. I mean, out of all of the Joe Gibbs guys, I mean, you would think when you think Joe Gibbs drivers, you would think Ty Gibbs, but a lot of times I'll go through Bell and Hamlin and Briscoe and be like, who the heck's the fourth driver? Oh, that's right. The name, Ty Gibbs. I don't know why I do that. It's a brain fart that I've got. But 28th in single lap, 21st in 15 lap consecutive average. He's got an average finish of 16.6. I mean, there's nothing that screams, ooh, this could be potentially it. And practice speeds were, I mean, the long run was decent, better than average. So, I mean, Ty Gibbs is in play because there is a little bit of place differential. He is driving a Toyota. I mean, at least he's got more place differential potential than Reddick and Bubba Wallace. And pretty much all the other, actually all the Toyotas. I don't know where 20 or Legacy's starting. We'll see here in a minute. So, I mean, of all the Toyotas, he might be one of the furthest back. So, I'll have some Ty Gibbs. Let's put him on the calculator and kind of see where he needs to finish. He's starting in 23rd or 28th. Ty Gibbs is starting in 23rd. Okay, so this chart right here is wrong. 23rd. We'll fix the calculator. But we're dealing with actual numbers instead of just made up numbers. Gets to his average finish of 16th. Doesn't lead any laps. Has 5 fast laps. It's 36 points. It's enough for the top 15 in points, but not enough to make me go, ooh, I need to run some of them. All right, so if he gets to a top 10, still not quite enough. He's going to need to get to a top 6. Top 6 is going to be probably pretty close at the $7,000 range. I think that might actually end up playing, and that's with no laps led. Now, if he can lead some laps or get some fast laps, you know, let's say he gets to 12 fast laps, can he fall to 8th? 56? I think realistically we're not at 60 here. We're at 55. I think that ends up playing. So does Ty Gibbs have a 12 fast laps and an 8th place finish in him? Possibly. I don't think it's a complete fade. It's not going to be my core top 15 or top 15 drivers. So it'll be kind of just one of the ones I kind of put in 3 or 4 times over the course of my 40 plus lineups. Austin Cindric, 6,900 starting in 13th. This style track is just not in Austin Cindric's wheelhouse right now. It's not in this arsenal of bullets to put into the chamber to fire off and get a win. He's got 7 starts with only 2 top 20s, no top 10s. And he's starting in 13th, 23rd place average finish. He was 26th and 20th in practice. And his practice speeds were, Josh Berry had better practice speeds than Austin Cindric. Probably going to be a fair amount of fade on Austin Cindric. Might be a full fade. Doubtful I have much of any. Starting in 13th. And he's just going to need to finish further up than he's ever finished at this style type of track. It just doesn't. 5th doesn't even cut it. He's going to have a top, well beyond a top 5 finish. Yeah, I'm probably a full fade on Austin Cindric. Corey Heim, our winner from the truck race last night, driving a Toyota for 2311. He is the furthest Toyota at this point. Where are the legacy guys starting? Eric Jones in 18th and John Hunter in 34th. Okay, John Hunter is the furthest Toyota to the back. But John Hunter also has been hit or miss at Richmond. Been much better in the Xfinity and Truck Series than the Cup Series. Starting in 32nd, he was 5th and 4th. Now, it was in the first practice session, which was faster. He does have one start that was the Iowa start where he got a 29th place average finish, or 29th place finish, and a 21.6 average running position. And that's all we really have to go on. I mean, for a one-off type of run, his practice speeds were better than a lot of the guys that run full time. So, I mean, I will give him that. And it is Corey Heim. It's not going to be Heim time tomorrow, but it could be Heim time to play him in some of your lineups. Because I think he probably ends up having a 5 to 7% ownership, which is going to give you some leverage if you kind of go a little bit heavier. And there's plenty of data to back up that he could probably get there. You know, if he gets to a 20th, it's only 35 points. For 6,700, you're going to need a little bit more. He's going to need to finish like 16th, probably. 43. No, he's going to need a top 15 for our guy, Corey LaJoy. Gets him 47 points. And that might or might not be enough. Depends on how lineups kind of skew around. Maybe he was in that one lineup I made, I think. So, yeah, I don't mind the Corey Heim play. I'm probably not going to have a whole lot. I'll have, once again, not core top 15 drivers, but, the 2, 3, 4 lineups that I need to kind of differentiate. Corey Heim will be there. Daniel Suarez starting in 21st. He's $6,600. 19th in single lap. 24th in 15 lap. Average, way better starting spot than his teammates. And his practice speeds were about average. I mean, he ran forever. I only did 40 laps. Just because there's not a whole lot of cars that did much more than that. But, I mean, he was at or above or right at average, and he's starting kind of right at or slightly slower than average in 21st. Average finish of 23, though. This is kind of where it gets a little wonky. The last 5 races, he's got a 22.6 for the tracks that we're comparing to, and a 25.4 for the last actual 5 ovals of this season. Kind of equates to about a 23rd, 24th place finish, but that's 26.9. That's not going to play. Suarez is going to, number one, I don't think he's going to lead a whole lot of laps, and I think he probably only has maybe 4 or 5. So that takes him to 19. That's definitely not going to play. How far up? I mean, he's going to need a top 5. Yeah, maybe a top 7. Yeah, top 8. Yeah, so definitely in the top 10. 8th or better. It's not a full out fade. It'll be kind of like Corey Heim. It'll be like, I'll keep him around for 2 or 3 lineups to differentiate. So it's not a full out fade like an Austin Cindric would be. But I'm probably not going to be very heavy on Daniel Hemrick at all. It'll be single digit ownership. But it'll probably end up being about there for most of the field, to be perfectly honest. Eric Jones at $6,400, starting in 18th. 22.6 average finish. He was 27th and 38th in practice. So long run speed, not very good for this car. And honestly, he was slower than average and he qualified better than average. I'm probably going to fade off of Eric Jones a little bit. Maybe 1, maybe 2 lineups at most. So I wouldn't say it's a full out fade, but I would say it's going to be really, really, really quiet on taking much of Eric Jones. Where John Hunter Nemechek at 6,200, starting in 34th. He was second in single lap, 11th in 10 lap consecutive average. He was in the first group, which does make a difference. But he's got a 23.7 average finish for the 2 races that we're comparing to. 3 total starts for the 30th place average finish, so not great there. Practice speeds his fall off was really bad on the long run. He fired off quick and then he beat the crap out of his equipment. I mean, starting 34th, he's going to get some ownership, and I'll take some shots on him. But he's going to need to finish 15th. Yeah, 15th, 13th to 15th, or better to be in play, really. I mean, at 6,200, I'll have some ownership. I don't love it, though. Michael McDowell. Oh, this track's not good for Michael McDowell either. Average finish of 19.2 and 26 total starts at Richmond with a 28.9 average finish. Blah. At least he's been running better lately. And his practice speeds were average, probably 20th if you look at it. I mean, the average would be half of 38. So 19 drivers, 19 should be better than the average, and 19 would be slower than the average. And Mike McDowell is about average. Well, he's starting 10th. So, in my opinion, he's starting way too far up. And if we look at the race comparisons, 19.2 average finish and a 24.6 puts him at 23, starting at 10th. You have a whopping 9.2. I'm a fade off of Michael McDowell. AJ Allmendinger, the Richmond Raceway ringer. Doesn't quite sound the same. $6,000 starting at 13th. But I mentioned before, Colleague unloaded super fast. Is that going to equate to something in the race? I don't know. He did it in the second practice session, which is the slower of the two practice sessions, where he was 31st and 15th in practice, has an average finish of 24.0. And 26 total starts. He's never finished in the top 5, never finished or 3 times in the top 10 with a 22.3 average finish. Look at his practice speeds. Slightly better than average. But he's starting in 3rd. And I don't think it's AJ Allmendinger, the Richmond Raceway ringer. There's just too much uphill climb here. I could see just doing a crazy one-off with AJ in a lineup, but just because you just never know. The potential, I mean, very unlikely that he finishes top 10, much less top 5. And the amount of laps that he would need to lead and finish in the top spot, it's just, there's too many uphill climbs there for that, with no indication that it's there, other than he qualified well. All right, Zane Smith, $5,900 starting in 29th. He was 35th and 29th in practice. He has an average Draftkings point total of 3. 3. Not -3, but 3. 31.3 average finish for the 5 races we're comparing to. An average finish of 29th at Richmond. Let's look at his practice speeds. Yeah, they're about average to... Yeah, about average. And starting slightly below average, so starting in 29th, but your average finish is god-awful. 31.3. The last 5 ovals is a 24.2. We can net it out to 27. I mean, it gives you a 17.45. Now, Zane has, at times, overperformed. So I could see being a little sneaky with Zane. I just wouldn't go hog heavy on Zane. If this were Chandler Smith, yeah, I could see playing Chandler, not Zane. Noah Gragson, $5,800. Oh, Noah. Can you have a good race, please? Just one. God, just cannot get out of his own way. And once again, 35 laps of practice. When everybody else is running 45, 50 laps. I just don't get why these guys at front row were not going out and running a ton of laps. I mean, Zane had 39, Noah had 35, and Todd Gillen had 40. So at least Todd Gillen got to 40 laps. All right, but Noah, I mean, good in single lap and 15 lap, but he was in the first group, which is supposed to be faster. He's got a 25.2 average finish for the 5 racers we're comparing to. Never finished in the top 10, twice in the top 20 here at Richmond. And he's starting 22nd, but I mean, if you can't really go anywhere. And once again, I mean, his takeoff speed was fair. It was better than average, but then the fall off is just horrendous. So, starting 22nd, I mean, I think we're going to be lucky to get Noah Gragson to a 26, but he may actually be like, yes, I finally finished a race and I finished inside the top 30. Not much of a celebration there for Noah, but I mean, anything I guess that you can put a small feather in the cap. Go for it. SVG, $5,700. Ooh, has never. I see right. He's never run Richmond. No, they ran the Xfinity Series. I thought here last year. Maybe they didn't. But I could have sworn the Xfinity ran here last year. Xfinity race, 2024. Yeah, they raced Richmond. I thought I saw somewhere that somebody said SVG and well, they never run the Cup Series here. You know that. But last year he finished 15th in the Xfinity race. One lap down, which is important. Starting 27th. He's got more points than he knows what to do with going into the playoffs. We say that now. He's going to need them all. 32nd and single lap, 31st and 15 lap. Doesn't have a ever start here, so we don't have any data or information, and he was average during practice. I think the gamble is much more how long does it take for SVG to hit the wall and spin out? Who does it first, SVG or Kyle Busch? I'm going to put my money on SVG for this week. But there is a very high probability that SVG just hits the wall too many times, ends up having a broken toe link, and is behind the wall. I'm not going to have much of any SVG. I'm not going to put him on the calculator. I mean, I can. But it's going to be so far up at 5,700. I mean, 14 probably doesn't even really cut it. I mean, he's gonna need to net out a 12th, and he just doesn't have the oval speed yet. So I'm a fade on SVG. I'm sure everybody else probably will be too. So we're not going to be alone on that one. You know, that one random person that takes him, if he does well, we'll have a good day, I guess. Todd Gillen, 5,600. Starting in 31st, he's got a 22.4 average finish here, but in practice he was 13th in single lap, 5th in 15 lap consecutive average. 2 top 20s here at the 5 races we're comparing to, and 6 total starts. He's got 2 top 20s for a 21.7 average finish. Let's see what his practice speeds look like. Fired off pretty decent, and then kind of just slowed up right along with everyone else. Kind of looks like Kyle Busch a little bit. Good consistent speed though. I mean, the fall off seems to be very consistent. No real jagged edges, but it's slow at the end. I mean, 23.1 to a 26.7. Ton of fall off. But starting in 31st, he's got some room to run. If we look at the averages, we're looking at about a 23rd place finish. So that's not going to cut it, but I think he gets to 14th, maybe? Oh, yeah. I mean, top 15 for Zane, he's definitely in play at 5,600. So, yeah, I think the Todd Gillen play is absolutely potentially there, especially since he kind of ends up finishing close to or on the lead lap. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., $5,500, starting in 36. Will Eric Jones or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. be the first cars to run the fence, meaning right up along the outside portion of the track? They typically are the first 2 to go up there and venture into the sketchy waters. So, we'll see. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 36. Way out there. Average finish 30.8. Sorry, a little tired. I was up till like 2 in the morning getting all this taken care of and done. After being at the racetrack for a few hours. Can he get to his average finish of 28.36? It's starting in 36. It says practice speeds were 28 definitely doesn't cut it. How far up does he need to go? 20th? No, he's going to get better than that. 15th? Probably too high. 17th? I mean, I think 17th or 18th, so he's going to have to cut his deficit in half. I mean, if anybody's going to throw crazy strategies out there, it's going to be Ricky and it's going to be Todd Gillen. So I don't necessarily mind having either one of them in the lineups, but with Ricky starting 36th, he's going to have some probably fair amount of ownership. Justin Haley, $5,400. The man supposedly on the hottest of hot seats because it might become more and more apparent that Suarez might be in the number 7 car for next year. But if Justin Haley can pop off a win or pop off a couple of top 5s and top 10s, he might be able to save his ride. Starting in 25th, he was 8th and 10th in single or in practice. Was in the first group, so they fired off a little faster. We've been through that a couple times. Practice speeds were, not great. Not for. I mean, I think at best he might be looking at a 25th place finish. His average is 23rd. We'll kind of keep it there. That's 21.45 points. I just think he's starting a little too far up. Jesse Love, 5,200. This is just. I don't think Jesse Love finishes in the top 30 unless we just have massive amount of attrition. But this grand experiment with Jesse Love in the Cup Series has been a very, very uphill battle. His practice speeds actually were decent. I'll give him that. Starting in 35th at 5,200. I mean, it's going to be one of those that I'm going to run 2 to 3 lineups just to be a little different with my lineups, and just in case he happens to hit. I mean, a 17th place finish gets him 44 points at 5,200. I mean, we just talked about at the beginning of this episode, Ty Dillon doing something similar and $200 more expensive is Jesse Love. The problem is we have no earthly idea the body of work here, really, for the car or for Jesse. So, not saying it's a complete fade, not saying it's a big take. I'll have a little bit. Cole Custer starting in 24th. I think Cole may have overqualified here. 9th in single lap, 37th in 15 lap consecutive average. Got a 22.2 average finish. So even if he gets to his average finish, it's not going to be a pretty day. And there's just nothing really here that indicates anything different than kind of where he's starting. So 24th, finished 26th. I don't even have to press go here. It's just bad. 14 points of Draftkings. I'm going to be a fade off of Cole Custer. There's just nothing in any of the data that makes me go, there's a slight chance. There's a chance. Unlike Ty Dillon, there is a chance. There's absolutely a chance. Not a great chance, but there is a chance. $5,000 starting in 16th. He was 7th fastest in single lap in the first practice session. Yes, the faster of the 2 practice sessions. And he was 3rd in 15 lap consecutive average. 31.2 average finish, though, for 4 or 5 of the last races. Sorry, at similar style tracks. Richmond and Iowa. In the last 5 ovals, it's been better, 24.8. His practice speeds were good for a $5,000 driver. That's good. The only concern is him starting in 16th. But if he finishes where he starts and has 5 fast laps, I mean, that's not going to be enough. That's a 29.2, but can you get a 12th? 37.25. I mean, that probably puts him in the top 15. And depending on the lineup construction, there's a small outside shot. I'm not going to be real heavy on this call, but I'm not going to be an all-out fade with Ty Dillon. Is really what I'm kind of getting at and saying. Riley Herbst, 4,900. Starting in 26, he was 10th in single lap, 9th in 15 lap consecutive average. All these guys that are starting are really cheap. all were in the first practice session, but go figure. So their practice speeds are actually comically good. 10th and 9th for a $4,900 driver. And you put it on the chart, and it's not bad. It's not. It's probably one of his better practices. But why does he got to go start 26? If he were starting 33rd, I'd be like, okay, I see potentially here. But 26, I think at best that's where he finishes. I mean, it's really telling me 29th or 30th really will be the finish. So you do what you want with Rally Herps. I'm probably not going to have very much or any of them. Cody Ware, $4,800 starting in 37th, 33rd in single lap, 35th in 15 lap consecutive average. His practice speeds for Cody Ware were actually pretty good. Most of the time when we look at Cody's, they're like way up here, way all jagged, nothing even close. At least he's close. So I'll give Cody Ware credit there. Now at $4,800, God, I don't even know how this ends up getting played, but he's starting next to last on the field. It's going to need to be more than 26th. 21st might play at $4,800, but it really depends on the lineup build. And that's asking for a lot when your best finish was the 13th at Atlanta, which was a super speedway, kind of. But your best finish at Richmond in Iowa is 32nd. So, nope, not interested there. Have a nice day, Cody Ware. We'll see you tonight. All right, so guys that I really like, or that are going to be highly owned. Larson and Logano absolutely will be the top dogs in ownership for tonight's race. Beyond that, Ross Chastain might get some 4-place differential. But honestly, what I like here is I don't mind any of the top 4 guys. Logano, Larson, Hamlin, and Byron. Don't love the Byron play. So the top 3 guys I really do like. Now I'm going to be probably even with the field on it, and that's okay. I'll find a way to differentiate once we kind of get down into it. Blaney, don't love, don't hate. Briscoe, don't love, don't hate. Josh Berry, I actually kind of like the Josh Berry play more than I like the other ones. There's something special about Josh Berry in Richmond. I don't know. Maybe it's just sentimental. Ross Chastain starting in 33rd. I'd much rather go down to Kyle Busch. It's $200 more expensive, but I just think Kyle Busch has got the better car than Ross Chastain right now. Osavar, I think, is going to end up burning up his tires or doing something wonky and not going to finish very well. Ty Gibbs, starting in 23rd. I mean, Carson or Ty could both go interchangeably. Not a complete fade. Not going to have much ownership. They're outside my top 15. Bell, I can get behind some Bell. There's a potential for a run to the front and finish in the top 10, start in the top 10. I think, honestly, Brad Kay is one of my more favorite plays. I think he has the potential to go and get the win today, along with Denny Hamlin. Those would be my 2 top picks. So if you're going out there making the bets, if you're looking for what I would consider the top Toyota, I'm going to take Denny. Top Ford, I'm going to take Brad. And top Chevy, I'll take... I don't know. I don't know. Hearns in 14th. Chase is in 5th. I mean, maybe Chase. So you go Chase Elliott for Chevy, Brad for Ford, and Denny for Toyota. Do you think Logano and Larson are at risk of getting lapped? Larson, no. Not, I don't think so. Not in the first stage. And all depends on if they got whatever was ailing Joey Logano's car fixed along with the repairs from where you hit the wall. And that's a real big question mark. You don't know until you go and fire off down into turn 1. And you go, oh my God, it's worse. Or, oh my God, it's the same. Or you go, okay, we fixed it. I can get going here. I think Logano's at more of a risk of going a lap down before Larson is. But I mean, heck, who saw Larson losing his brake pedal last week on lap 4 or 5? So, I mean, no, I don't think they're necessarily at risk of going a lap down because the lap speeds really didn't fall off a whole lot. We'll get some separation from these guys, but Joey will pass as long as Joey's car is okay. Doesn't have to be great. As long as it's okay, he's going to pass 10 guys in the first 20 laps. Larson's going to do the same. He's going to pass 10 guys in the first 20 laps. That'll move him up to 20th. It'll move Joe Logano to 30 or 28th. And then at that point, you've got a little bit of buffer. So, no, I think they're both going to be fine. Now, that's during first stage. After that, pit stops, issues, all can arise. No, but I don't think they'll get lapped to begin with. All right. 2 hours and 11 minutes. I remember when I used to do this second an hour, but I've got way too much data involved in this now, and I don't know. I'm up to 90 views, 7 likes. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. There's lots of people that have watched this video that are not subscribed yet, so please make sure you go hit the subscribe button. That way, the algorithms will get more people involved, and we can have more chats. I love the chat. Lots of good chatting today. We'll always love to see it. I do promise that hopefully by the end of this year, at least over the winter break, I plan on having a Discord with a Discord community. And anybody that is subscribed early will definitely get a free look into the Discord and where we can chat and discuss. Maybe we'll do midweek videos, those types of things that I'll do only on the Discord. So either way, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to go get a little bit of lunch. I'm going to get myself packed up, and I'm going to head to the racetrack. All right. Well, actually, I got to set my lineups. That'll take me an hour. But either way, you guys have a great weekend. Good luck, and enjoy your Sunday off. What's everybody going to do? It was my wife's birthday and anniversary, so I am washing and detailing her car. So have a great one. Talk to you guys soon. Bye. Oh, next week, same thing. We have a Saturday night race. It'll be here, same time, same place. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
Can you still taste the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.